The following takes place between 3 p.m. and 3:15 p.m.
Hi, I'm Nelson May, and welcome to Cooking with Nelson and Healthy Cooking on a Budget, where we show you how to cook healthy food in 15 minutes or less that doesn't cost you a lot. Tonight we're going to cook pork loin and mandarin oranges. This is a recipe that's going to take less than 15 minutes to prepare, about 4 hours to cook in a crock pot, and it's something you are going to completely enjoy. So let's take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look at our ingredients. I got a pork loin for $2.99. I got me some sweet potatoes. Got a bag of 6 for $1.99. Since we're only using 3 here, that'll be about $1. And also some mandarin oranges, about 43 to 45 cents a can. So that's another $1. We need some salt, we need some pepper, and we also need some garlic and 8 cups of water in the crock pot. Now I'm going to show you how we're going to put all this together and make us some good food. I am simply going to use a garlic press just because it's a little bit easier, and I like my garlic to spread a little bit more evenly into my soup. Now my hands are clean, so don't worry about stripping this off. And also that little extra garlic that gets stuck down into the press, I like to go ahead and throw that in as well. There you go, there's your garlic. Now what you want to do is, I suggest that you use about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I like my salt ground, and I like to use Mediterranean sea salt. So what I like to do is give it about 4 or 5 cranks, just like this, and that gives us about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I like to go ahead and put my pepper in. So pepper, like about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. So let's go ahead and give it about 4 or 5 cranks here. And there's your 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Now we're going to prepare the sweet potatoes. When it comes to sweet potatoes, obviously you want to take the skins off of them. Now I have this wonderful thing that I found for about $2 or $3 called a julienne slicer. It's made for making julienne vegetables, but I'll tell you, it is great for peeling a sweet potato because these rinds on these sweet potatoes are pretty tough, and if you sit there with a knife, it's going to be pretty tough to get off. So I just basically do this with all the sweet potatoes, go around, and then we'll cut them up. What I would like to do is introduce you to this wonderful cutting instrument called an ulu. This is from Alaska, and the Eskimos use this to basically cut their meat. Now my parents brought this back a couple of years ago from a cruise, and I'll tell you what, this is one of the best cutting instruments I have found. So it also has a bowl that comes with it, and this thing is just wonderful. Now as you can see, we have our sweet potatoes, and they have been skinned. So all I do is take them in the ulu. Sweet potatoes are very tough to cut, by the way, so you got to watch using a knife. So it's nice to have this leverage to be able to cut through them. And I just basically cut my sweet potatoes in big chunks because essentially they're going to go in as big chunks, and once they're in the mix and they get hot, they're going to kind of start to break apart anyway and get really soft. So you don't want huge sweet potatoes, but I like to go ahead and cut them in, you know, little halves like this, like you see here, and that's it. So let's go ahead and cut the rest of these up, and we're going to go ahead and put them in our soup. Now that we're in our final stages, you see that we have our sweet potatoes, we also have our pork loin, and we also have our mandarin oranges. Now what I did was I pulled some of the water out of the crock pot because I didn't anticipate putting so many sweet potatoes in. So even though I told you to use 8 cups of water, you can start out with a little bit less water, and then once you get everything in the crock pot, you can go ahead and fill it up with more water to get everything covered so it cooks. So let's go ahead and just pour our sweet potatoes in here. All right, nice lumpy going in. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and drop in our mandarin oranges. And by the way, with the mandarin oranges, leave the syrup that's in the can because that's what's going to make your dish sweet. All right, and it's going to give it some of that sweetness, so leave that in. Then let's just go ahead and pop in our pork loin. Well, we're pretty well almost underwater, so I'm going to add, maybe about another cup of water or so in here. Get everything covered up. Okay, now what you want to do is set your crock pot on high, which I already have it on. Put the lid on it, let it cook for about 4 to 6 hours, and when you're done, you're going to have a nice meal. And when we come back, we're going to show you what this meal looks like. been about 5 hours, and right now we're looking at our final recipe. In the crock pot, you can see that the mandarin oranges and the sweet potatoes have kind of dissolved into the water a little bit, although we still have some chunks of sweet potatoes, but now that has given our mixture its sweet taste. The other nice thing about this mixture is because we have been cooking this pork in this boiling water for about 4 to 5 hours, the pork is literally falling off the bone. Now, I'm just speaking metaphorically, of course, because we don't have anything on the bone, but if it was on a bone, it would be falling off. Look at this pork, it's just flaking open. So, this is what you want to have. So here you have it. This is pork tenderloin, sweet potatoes, and mandarin oranges. This is a wonderful recipe. Now, this is going to keep me eating probably about 5 to 6 times. Now, remember what we talked about earlier with the ingredients? We spent about $5 on this meal, and it took less than 15 minutes to prepare it. So this is something you can do any time. And then start it in the morning, put it on low. When you come home for dinner, you have dinner and you don't have to cook. And again, the prep time is less than 15 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you would like more on the ingredients, please read my blog at www.relaxandeat.com. And by the way, that's a website that you can also go to for relaxation tips and tips on healthy eating on a budget. Once again, I'm Nelson May, and that website is www.relaxandeat.com. Have a good night.